So we're up to video number 8 in our 9-part series, talking about making our events wow events with the wow customer experience with Ron Ruth. If you haven't had a chance to check out the earlier videos, there's a lot of great information that's led us to this video. In this one, we're going to talk about the times when the couples give us a gem. Ron talked about active listening in the last video. There's times when you're listening, they're going to give you something. And to know when to take that and run with it, and then how do we run with it in a way that's going to work for our clients. Ron, kind of dig into that a little bit of how we take those gems and work with those.
Well, I think a lot of it, let's start with, again, going back to the premise of what is customer experience is built on a foundation of emotion, where the customer feels value, special, important. There's a relationship involved here. There's connection involved here. So not every idea that a bride and groom may present to you is going to be something that you're going to have to go, well, maybe I need to go back and talk to them about this. Some of them, yes, especially if it's something that you think borderlines on being embarrassing or over the top, or maybe they just maybe won't like it. But a lot of times, it's the relationship you have with them, there's a trust factor built up where you can actually do things that maybe they're not going to know until it actually happens. As an example, I used in the last video, I talked about the love story and how I told the story of how we proposed and we did all the fireworks and all that. I never asked the couple whether I could do something like that. I just did it. I offered it. Now, on the other hand, I do personalized wedding party introductions as a DJ, and a lot, because of the information a bride and groom will share with me, some of it, even in my mind, might be a little questionable as to whether or not they would want me to share this information about a certain member of their wedding party publicly with their guests. So I will actually sit down with them prior to the wedding, and I will review all of the wedding party introductions so they know in advance what it is I'm going to say, and give them an opportunity whether to tell me, maybe we don't want to say that, maybe that would probably be a good idea if we don't incorporate that. And that also saves me from that night. The last thing I want to do is make enemies of the people I'm talking about. So, there are times when, as Kenny Rogers would say, that you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them. And there are just sometimes, you know what, I can do this and they're going to love this and this isn't going to be a problem. Then there are other times when you go, maybe I should check in with this idea before I actually follow through on it.
So where's that line between the times, obviously having a relationship you're going to know, but there's going to be some areas, you mentioned the customized wedding party. Is there kind of a guideline you use to know when to bring something to them?
Yes. When in doubt, check. I'm serious. I mean, it comes down to, if you doubt whether something is going to be good, or, if they're going to like or not like, check with them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with doing that, with saying, I have this idea and I think you're going to like it, but let's talk about it. I just want to make sure that you're going to be okay with this before I follow through with this. I had a photographer years ago, and I think this is relevant. I had a photographer years ago that came to me before, this was still bouquet and garter toss type stuff, which sure, a lot of couples aren't doing anymore. But this is a great example of when in doubt. But a photographer came to me and said, "Oh, before they do the garter, let me know because I need to talk to the groom." And I said, "What do you need?" I don't know. There was just something about the way he said it. And I went, "So what do you need to talk to the groom about?" And before I go too much further, bride and groom were a fairly conservative couple. I mean, they were fun, but they were still fairly conservative, and I knew that. And the photographer said to me, "Oh, I got this great idea. When he goes under the dress, I got this pair of granny panties that's like this." And when he takes it, it's going to go, he's going to come out and everybody's going to love it. And I went, "Have you met the couple?" This is a time when, you don't do these things without, especially something like that. Even if I wanted to do something like that, I would have said, I better check with the bride and groom, but especially with the groom, and make sure he's going to be good with that before I actually make it happen. But you don't want to do these kind of things without at least checking in. We didn't do the grant. No, we're not going to do that.
You didn't do that. Yeah.
I can tell you right now, that's not a good idea. But it's an example of, if it's something that you know is going to be out there, check. It doesn't hurt. It's not going to hurt anybody. But if it's something that you've picked up in conversation and they're happy with it. I mean, even today, I don't mention in a love story a couple living together. Yes, I'm older, but I just don't think it's anybody's business. I mean, even though they may talk about it, I just don't really mention it unless I feel I absolutely positively have no choice but to mention the couple's living together. It's just not nobody's business.
Sure. And there's definitely going to be things like that as we're going where you want to focus on things. It doesn't mean you have to hit everything, but there's things you want to focus on that's going to give you that ultimate result. So
absolutely.
The last video in this 9-part series, we're going to be talking about...
There's more?
There's one more. And we're going to give some examples of the times when the couples have had a bad idea. And we kind of touched on a little bit here in number 8, but there's times where they've just had an idea that's just been a bad idea. And from our experience, we just could see it coming. It was the train wreck. And we're going to talk about ways, in essence, to let them down or handle that in a professional way that's going to be a win-win for everyone, as opposed to telling someone that it's a bad idea and making them feel bad. So that's video number 9. We're just finishing video 8. If this is your first video in the series, we've got 7 more up above this in the playlist. The link for that playlist is down in the description. You can go click there. If you are watching the playlist, you're going to see 9 starting in just one moment.